Welcome to Pull the Pin Already War Room Edition. I'm your host Jim, and with me as usual is Mike. Joining us also is Kaner, Tim, Gerald, and sometimes Brian.
Hey, Brian, just send me the link. I'll pay your internet bill, man.
Oh.
Well, you better be careful, Mike, because it might be like 4 months backdated.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah, for free for COVID, man. Damn, bro.
All right, so we'll move on, and if Brian joins us again, we'll just bring him back in. If not, then we'll just move on without him. But
Okay.
how this works is we are going to put up a headline that we got out of these are actual headlines. They came from actual media sources. You might be able to guess some of them, but we're going to pull it up, and Mike will throw it to whoever. You ready for the first one, Mike?
Yep, let's do it. Oh, God.
All right, ready? Dems block bill that would have designated the Taliban a terrorist organization.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Tim, what do you think about that? Obviously, you wasn't watching the screen what Kana did to you.
Well, I didn't hear about it, but I'd say it might not be such a bad thing, really, that they blocked it.
Why is that?
There's gonna be terrorists start training in Afghanistan. That's almost guaranteed. If you want the Taliban to do anything about it, you kind of have to differentiate them from the terrorists. So it might not be too bad to differentiate them by starting up not classifying them as terrorists, because once you classify them as a terrorist, you can't really negotiate much after that point.
You're labeling them as the enemy, then you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, It might be better to keep them in a separate camp, because in the end, you're going to want them to do something about the terrorist training inside their country. And they may be more willing to go along this time. Who knows? But you can give it a try. But if you just start off right off the bat saying, hey, y'all are terrorists, you can't really go much. You can't really go from there.
Okay. What do you think about that, Gerald?
I would just say that not to disagree with Tim. I can't quite see your name again. Who just spoke? What's his name?
Tim.
Yeah. Okay. There you go again. Okay. So with Tim, so my perspective as someone that served in Afghanistan as a contractor, for me, I group them all the same. You know, they're all the same. Al-Qaeda, they're all as one. And I understand for political designation, country, we separate them. We separate them and all. And yeah, the Democrats blocked the bill. And Tim, you mentioned that they may go along. History says otherwise, and I'm not just saying right or wrong. But they're all bad characters. You know, they're all there, and history has shown us that. You just replace one bad element with another. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks since we've pulled out, we've seen what the Taliban is doing and will continue to do. So yeah.
All right. What do you think about that, Kana?
I don't really have democratic views, but I do honestly think I kind of agree with both of you, but like I do think it's kind of a strategic thing, and at this point in time, why not? Why don't label them just yet? Just wait and see what happens and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we can always reserve the right to change our minds later and start bombing the crap out of them if they don't go along. But in the end, I'm not saying they're good people. Nobody's saying the Taliban is good. But we have cooperated with God knows how many dictators, especially during the Cold War. We collaborated with so many dictators, evil people all the time because it didn't matter. It was so long as we were accomplishing our goal. In that war, it was to prevent communism from spreading. In this case, we don't want terrorism to have an easy time training in Afghanistan and kind of reassembling themselves like Al-Qaeda. And so maybe initially you try going along with the Taliban and seeing if they can stomp down on it or at least keep it somewhat under control. But in the end, we can always start bombing them if they aren't playing along.
Exactly. And I think that we're just playing along with them right now by doing this. I
But
don't really agree with Democrats at all, but I think it might be strategic.
but Tim, we can we can debate this and everybody's got different opinions. But you say we could bomb them again, but this has been a 20-year war, and then history before that with that country, they've always been at war. So what effect has bombing done for the last 20 years? And we're never going to put another 100,000 American soldiers back in Afghanistan, So, and for me, and I said this while I was serving, not serving as a soldier, but as a contractor, I thought we should a long time ago cut our losses and be done with it.
Oh, I would agree with that.
I mean, because at the end of the day, because no matter what, Biden takes a lot, and I'm not a Democrat, Republican. No matter what, however we pulled out, the outcome was going to look like it looked. I mean, who thought it was going to look anything
the day we killed Bin Laden, we should have declared victory and left. Like that day, we should have said "ta-da" and then pulled out, and it would have looked a lot better than what we just did.
But don't you think? When we killed Bin Laden, it was a lot of Bin Ladens that had manifested after him. So I mean, he was just one of the many. I mean, and so that's just my perspective. Yeah.
Damn, Mike,
yeah.
Mike.
And they're going to come back. The thing is that the difference between now with the Taliban and when we killed Bin Laden with the Taliban is then they had nothing to lose. Now they've just got control of their country. They probably have all these plans for, how they're going to bring about this great, caliphate or whatever. So they have something to lose. They might be a little more willing to negotiate rather than go back to the way it was before, where they're all living in their grandma's basement in Pakistan or whatever, where they would just pretty much have to flee over there and just wait out the winters and then come back and get stomped all over. Now they have something to lose. They might be willing to negotiate. I don't think it's going to work, but what's the alternative? Immediately start bombing them?
I agree with pulling out, but I think Mike was over there when Osama got killed, and Mike's not really good at pulling out. So I just had to add that in. Mike's not good at pulling out, so we couldn't pull out back then. That's
all. He got me on that one. I was like, oh, he's going somewhere. Oh, that son of a boy. All right, that's good, guys. That's a good conversation. What's the next one, Jim?
The next one is
good. National Enquirer shit.
GOP senators propose measure to ban dishonorable discharges of unvaccinated military members.
Oh, I could go on all day on that one.
Wow.
What?
They were thinking about doing that.
I didn't know that neither. This first I've heard of that.
Because we discussed that last week about what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe this is a preemptive strike.
GOP.
So with I read this as they don't want the soldiers to have a dishonorable discharge. That's
correct.
The way I read that, right?
They're preemptively saying you cannot dishonorably discharge unvaccinated soldiers.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, even though it's disobeying a lawful order, but yeah, I agree. What do you think about that, Kana?
I 100% agree, but do they get an honorable discharge? Do they get an other than an honorable discharge? Is that? I mean, can you elaborate on that, Jim? Or
no, we don't. The headline. We don't even know what the intention was. Okay. So
I mean, I agree that it shouldn't be a dishonorable discharge. 100%. No way in hell. But I flip flop on it as it is. So
you flip flop on a lot of things.
Yes, I do.
I got him for you, Mike. I caught him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So what do you think about that, Tim?
Y'all calling me? I kind of broke up there.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely agree. I'm glad they preemptively did this because, I mean, some Looney Tunes would try dishonorably discharging the soldiers for refusing vaccination. I don't think it should be dishonorable. Probably, just give them an honorable discharge, really, and just discharge them out if they don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Nah, that would be my opinion on it.
What do you think about that, Joe?
Well, I know as a medic, we gave many vaccinations. One being the Gabba Goblin, a series of 6. Did we put service members out for that? No, it was required. A lot of them didn't take it. As a medic, I didn't take all 6. I probably took 2, and that was it. So my thing is, I don't think any of them should be discharged. It should be an option. Educate them. Those who want it should get it, but let's not blanket everybody and say, if you're not going to take it, we're gonna put you out. Whatever the discharge looks like, and that's coming from a medic who understands that yes, they need to be vaccinated, but let's not mix apples with oranges. Let's not penalize those who don't want to take it. So yes, and that's my take. Yeah.
Do you feel that way about all the shots or just this COVID one?
Well, COVID is the vanilla, is the top. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've always felt like that for a lot of them, Mike. We take different vaccinations to go in different countries.
Yeah.
Certain countries require that, and I get that. But just as Americans, service members that wear that uniform, it should be their choice, option, but then certain ones you have to take from a health standpoint. But let's not discharge any of them for not taking any of them, because we can. We can pick. Okay, COVID. What about the other one? What about the other 10 ones that we've had that we took who wore that uniform?
Yeah,
was that even a conversation? No, right. It wasn't. So why is it now? And I know we live in a political, toxic environment now, and I think a lot of that is where it's stemming from, and it's filtered into our military might, and it shouldn't, because for me as a medic, healthcare should be it should never be a political issue. It should be a medical necessity or a requirement or a choice for that individual. Yeah.
I wish they had a vaccine for bullets.
The issue at hand, though, the issue at hand with the COVID is the fact that it just got approved from the FDA to not be experimental. I think the biggest problem is it was experimental, and it should definitely be someone's choice when it's some experimental bullshit.
But Kane, any vaccine that we've ever done is experimental. It starts off as experimental, and I know we expedited
right. And it takes 7 years.
The Moderna and all that, and that's one of the ones for me. I waited. I didn't race when it first. Right. I did the Moderna, but I waited. I wasn't first in line. I did my homework. I did my research. But I understand where you're coming from as well, because you make a good point, and that's valid. Yep.
And we could talk about it all day, but
exactly.
My only concern would be preparedness. I'm just thinking about what happens whenever you're deployed. And you get one guy gets it, he goes in the tank. Now you just took out a whole tank. You got a bunch of sick dudes in the tank. Some of them might not even be able to operate it anymore. Also, we get crammed in those little tents. Who knows how fast that stuff could spread and just really debilitate your unit right in the middle of who knows what you'll be in. Right. So, that's the only reason I sometimes think about, well, maybe in this case they should be taking that vaccine, just because it could negatively affect preparedness and the ability of the whole unit to fight if you end up getting 10-20% of your people down with COVID in the middle of some war. And so that's my thinking on this. So you kind of got to think about preparedness on this one too.
Okay. So I brought Tim in here, so I'm going to speak for Tim. Tim is in the medical field, and Tim has been around a lot of people that have died from COVID. So I do understand where you're coming from with that, Tim, 100%. And that you make good logic with that. That does make sense.
Well, I guess if I would ask though, and I understand, like I said, I don't disagree with that perspective from a readiness standpoint. But just like Gerald just said, I mean, this is experimental. So you're basing that off of the fact that this is actually effective for the purpose it's designed for. That's what you're basing that tactical decision off of.
Right.
Like you wouldn't put ammunition in a gun if you didn't know if the gun was going to be able to shoot it.
Correct.
So at some point, there has to be a standard on when the experimental is the risk assessment. We did it all the time. So you did a risk assessment, say, okay, well, there's a better chance to take the COVID vaccine, then you'll survive versus not taking it. You know, so the risk assessment still has to be done.
Yeah. From what I've seen, there's no doubt. It's definitely very effective at keeping you from dying from COVID. I sit there and watch people die from COVID pretty much all day. I was watching one die from COVID today. I do dialysis. So when they get to a certain point, their lungs go, and then they get intubated. And at that point, the chances of surviving is like 5%, something like that. I mean, it's like 95% chance of death. But once their kidneys go, they've got multiple organ failure. Their lungs have gone, their kidneys have gone. The other organs are also probably damaged. Then I come in and I start dialyzing them. It's like a 99.9% chance of death. I've never seen one live. And I work with 14 other dialysis nurses. None of us have ever seen one of them live once they've been intubated with COVID and required dialysis. And from what we're seeing, the vaccine is very effective. It is very effective in keeping them from dying.
How do we know that,
I've seen a few cases. Because
how do we know that?
Which ones? Because we can see who's dying, and they're not the vaccinated ones. The vaccinated ones aren't showing up and dying in our hospitals.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is that the only factor? Just because they're not vaccinated? Like, how do we know that the vaccine is working, or it's just not a coincidence that the people coming now are just ones dying? Like, how do we know?
Well, Jim, that's an easy question in a sense, and Tim kind of answered that because he sees it. I see it on the medical aspect. If you look at the statistics, and I'm not necessarily a numbers guy, I'm a reality guy. But if you look at the numbers, those is dying. So COVID back March 2020, when it was at its highest, there was no vaccination. Fast forward to where we're at now, there is now a vaccination. So so we now have data to support both arguments. So what we're seeing is where is the high number of cases that's getting COVID now? It's the unvaccinated. Not to say, and we're seeing, and I think Tim mentioned 5% or whatever. We're seeing that you can be vaccinated and still get it. We're seeing that in small numbers, but not what we're seeing now in 2021 in September is majority of the cases in America, and pick a state, pick a city, pick a parish, pick a city, is the unvaccinated. So that's what your data is. And I always say, Jim, medicine is not an exact science, but it is a science.
Let me ask you this, Joe and Tim. So are you saying that the majority of people that you're seeing with COVID are the unvaccinated, or the ones that are being hospitalized now are the majority unvaccinated?
Both, Mike. And I'll answer, and I'm sure Tim will chime in. To answer exactly, Mike, to answer your question, yes. What we're seeing is those that's being hospitalized is, and I'm just going to throw this number out, and it's not necessarily accurate, but 95 to 97% of cases is the unvaccinated and the hospitalization because they are one and the same.
Okay.
So can I introduce another element? Because I like this because I completely understand what you're saying. So the other element I want to know is we're talking about not vaccinating, dying. We're talking about vaccinating, releasing your chance of not dying. Uh-huh. What about the middle? Because we don't know enough about the vaccine, right? Because there's not enough time to study it.
Right.
So what about the middle of all these treatments that may prevent people who aren't vaccinated, who are getting better without dying? Like all the treatments they're trying to suppress. So that's a whole third element that we're not even talking about that may skew these numbers drastically. So maybe these people that are coming that are not vaccinated aren't getting the right treatments once they get the COVID.
Or they have underlying conditions.
Well, Jim, and you make a very good point. And Kaner, you just said the same thing. But Jim, back to you though, is no matter what, and there's the challenge that the health, the CDC, the HSS, that's the struggles they struggle with, is because the people that you talk about, we don't know, because the treatment is not universal. Every state, everybody's doing something different, so it's not synchronized. Like cancer. Cancer's been around forever, so we kind of know the regimen for cancer. And I just use that generically. But for COVID, the middle people that you speak of, and where you live at, Jim? Where are you located? I'm in Louisiana. Where are you at?
In North Carolina.
See, North Carolina probably is doing different things than Louisiana. Mike's in Texas. Tim's wherever Tim is. There's no universal health treatment. Everybody's treating this differently for the middle people. So it's hard to answer that, because we're trying different drugs with different people. Different places are trying different things. So, and we don't have the data to.
Well, that's my point, Gerald. Is it seems like the argument is vaccine or no vaccine, when you're totally eliminating a third element, which could actually help people without the vaccine that we know nothing about.
And I think, Jim, and the reason right now, because we don't have time right now to hold those conversations, because we're dealing with a pandemic that started in 20, and it probably was started before that, and it's manifested. So now it's just two spectrum and not a middle ground. We may eventually get there, but those conversations aren't being had universal.
Well, we could get there, Gerald. All we got to do is go to Wuhan and say, all right, give us all the data so we know how to fix this. But nobody's done that yet.
Yeah,
Wuhan. Exactly. Yeah, right. And I was going to say that, Tim. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. So I'll just say one thing. Well, maybe it'll take a second. Okay. I do not support forcing anyone to get vaccinated. I think if there's a case for people being required to get vaccinated, the Army might be one of the few places where it kind of makes sense, just because you wouldn't want to go into theater and have a big percentage of your force get COVID, because it spreads very quickly, especially in closed places, which we all know. If you've been in a shower overseas or any of these places, in a dining facility, any of those places, you're going to get COVID all over the place. That's what I'm saying. And the military would be one of the few things where I'd almost make an exception to where they should have to get it. It's kind of like when I was going to go to Iraq, they gave me a shot for, for the anthrax, right? And then by the second time I was supposed to go, they said, hey, we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction, so you don't got to get this one. But I told them to go and give it to me anyway, because, whatever. I'm not really worried about vaccinations myself. But so anyway, I've had COVID, and then I've also been vaccinated, and they say that's the best solution. But if you look at Israel, where they have the highest vaccination rate of any place, they've actually done some studies of people who have gotten COVID and then gotten over it, and the people who had the vaccine. And the best thing to do is actually to get COVID and get over it. In fact, I think the exact number was you're 35 times less likely to die of COVID, 13 times less likely to die of COVID if you got COVID and got over it versus getting a vaccine. So like for the overall population, I'm totally against any kind of pressure of people to get vaccinated. It doesn't make any sense. In most cases, it would probably be best if the young people got COVID and they got over it rather than get a vaccine, which is, if you look at Sweden, which is, I think, also a great case study for this whole thing. I don't know if y'all remember, but when COVID first broke out, Sweden kind of went totally unlike everyone else. They didn't shut their economy down. They said, we're going to tell the old people, you need to distance, you need to wear your mask. We need to restrict visitations to nursing homes and such as that. because those are vulnerable populations. But as for the rest of y'all just keep doing whatever you're doing, and we're going to get herd immunity. And at the time, everyone said, Sweden, they're a bunch of murderers. Oh, they're terrible. This is the worst idea ever. While we were all shutting down and destroying our economies. Now, if you look at it now, Sweden is no worse off than anyone else. In fact, they don't seem to be even having a big wave right now. But so it's about break even for what they did versus what we did on the health front. But if you look on the economic front, they're doing way better than everyone else because they didn't shut down. By shutting down, we seem to have just shot ourselves in the foot, and we didn't really help ourselves fighting COVID. As far as vaccines go, like I said, just to be clear, I don't support pressuring any civilians. I don't even think that's constitutional what they're trying to do, forcing people to get vaccines. The military is actually one of the few places where I think there might be a case to where we should get people vaccinated, because I wouldn't want to be in a tank, be yelling at my gunner, and then he's over there coughing out his guts or something like that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Tim, because what you just illustrated with Sweden and that, or Israel, that's like a third option to me. Like, we didn't have that option. We didn't have an option of putting the old people and keeping the economy open. That's a third option. That's exactly what I'm talking
Sweden
about, the vaccine.
Sweden did it the best. In my opinion, Sweden did the best response.
I don't remember the Sweden thing.
They call it herd immunity, right?
Yeah.
Well, the word is immunity. There's nothing about the vaccine that creates an immunity.
Yeah.
Right? The vaccine doesn't make you immune.
If we don't vaccinate our young and they get it, it'd be the best thing for them to get it. It'd be like when you were a kid and you had chicken pox, or one of the neighbors had chicken pox, your mom might take you over there and you take a bath with that kid or some crap like that, just to get you the chicken pox and get over it, right? Because it's better to get it when you're young than when you're old.
Let me ask you something, Tim. Your own personal opinion. Should people get the shot?
Oh, I tell all my family you should get the shot. Yes. To my sister, I've told her many times, get that shot, because I don't think she would actually survive. And I think that the Delta variant is actually more deadly than what they were initially saying. But I don't think on a government level, civil liberties level, that the government should be pressuring people to get the shot. Absolutely. But if I were to advise you, I'd say, yes, you should definitely get that shot.
Right.
Get the Pfizer one. That seems to have the best result.
And you're both Texas boys, so.
So is there any truth to the fact that the Delta variant is actually created because of all the vaccinations?
It could be. I don't think they've done enough studies yet. It could easily be, I think.
Otherwise, we'd have herd immunity, right? And it would just die out. It wouldn't be trying to morph because of some.
Well, not necessarily, Jim, because what we're finding is Delta variant is just one of the new variants, but there will be some other spinoffs, if I want to use that term, of COVID. Did somebody say potentially?
No, mutations.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you that's the proper word. So that's gonna happen as we go forward until we totally get this controlled.
But Gerald, that's what I'm asking you, because I have these concerns myself. But what does controlled mean? If we're getting the vaccines, or people are getting the vaccines, but yet they're still getting the COVID's mutating. I mean, how are we controlling it? Wouldn't we control it just the way Sweden did?
Maybe.
Survive it.
That was just one model. That's one model that was effective. But we're a much bigger country than Sweden. So it's many more people. So I'm not saying that model wouldn't work, but we're not using that model. I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Tim.
The thing I like about the model is the way the government is in that model. The government in that model says this is not necessarily our business. We're not going to force people to do things. We're not going to close our economy down and destroy it. Where we're having all these inflation issues and all this stuff because we closed our economy down. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get worse economically. So the Sweden model is good as far as the government basically did not force the people to stop working.
Right.
I also don't think the government has any business forcing people to get vaccinated. But getting the vaccine is generally when I tell people personally, yes, you should get it. And here's what I tell my sister: the vaccine was designed to help fight COVID. I don't have any doubts about that because if you look at the way Trump acted and then you look at the way Biden's acting now, in both cases, they were desperate to get this whole thing behind us to get the economy restarted before this inflation and all this other stuff really, really starts sinking in and really starts just destroying people's lives economically. They were desperate. So I believe the vaccine was designed very well with the specific intention of preventing COVID and trying to get us past COVID. COVID, though, is, in my opinion, a biological weapon. I believe it was designed in a lab, and it escaped out of that lab in Wuhan. So I asked my sister, which would you rather do? Would you rather get a vaccine that was designed to try to protect you from a biological weapon? Or would you rather get hit by the biological weapon? Because even though young people tend to do very well, but even older people like my age, in the 40s, sometimes they get it and they don't actually really completely get over it. They get what's called long COVID, where you're going to have other issues and it's never really going to go away. Your lungs might never work the same again. You might feel achy all the time.
Mute, Joe.
Bad. So I always ask my sister, would you rather get the vaccine designed to prevent the biological weapon, or would you rather risk getting hit with the biological weapon? And because the vaccine does not seem to prevent people from getting COVID, as far as they can get it, they just don't get really sick by it. Sometimes they don't have any symptoms from it. But the problem is they're the ones giving it to all the unvaccinated people right now.
Right.
And which is kind of the opposite of what Biden was saying in his stupid speech where he's saying we got to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. No, that makes no sense. But actually it does work the other way around. As far as these vaccinated people are getting. That's why it's spreading so bad.
Yes, thank you.
Because they're giving it to the unvaccinated.
Thank you.
So,
hey Joe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I'm just saying we're turning this into a COVID episode, and I know there's more questions.
No, it's okay because the conversation's good. I don't mind that, and this is actually.
Awesome. I'm getting flaccid though, and I just want to do another question.
Oh well, I'm curious because you guys are you guys are talking about all this stuff, and when I know anecdotal stuff, but my dad literally, obviously he's in his 70s, literally took the vaccine and died a week and a half later. So it's not that this stuff doesn't exist. So this is personal, and it scares the hell out of me that maybe he played roulette. So at what point does a person say, okay, I take the chances with the vaccine or I take the chances with the COVID?
Right.
Because you don't know what the vaccine's going to do to you either.
Choice.
Tim, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's it. It's a personal choice, man.
Not a government forced thing. That's what I'm saying. It should be a personal choice, not a government forced issue.
That's
but
it.
So your aspect of seeing things, Jim, is interesting. So are you blaming the vaccine on your father's death or not?
I couldn't prove it, but he did end up getting sick because he had diarrhea, and he ended up, I assume, dehydrating, and his blood clot or something, and ended up dying of a heart attack or something. But they just dismissed it.
Does that make you
people? I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Does that make you skeptical about getting the vaccine then?
Well, it just makes me wonder. I haven't gotten it yet, so am I rolling the dice, or do I just go for a vaccine that I'm going to roll the dice on? Right. It's like Russian roulette.
So where I'm going with this is, I'm pro-vaccine for most stuff because I think that science is proven. But like my mom, before I moved out here, my mom was living with me in my house in New York, and so she got the Pfizer. She was cool the first shot, but the second shot, I thought I was going to fucking have to call 911.
Yeah.
She was fucked, man. She was like, and I thought she was dying in bed, man. And it scared the fucking piss out of me. So just because of that, I'm scared as fuck to get that goddamn shot, man. She's fine now. God bless her. But it scared the fucking shit out of me. I thought she was going to die from that second shot. And
hey, let me just say this again. I know we got to move on to something else. Back to what the original topic was, is the military is going to be mandated. All military people will take that vaccine. It's going to be mandated. And I'm surprised it took as long as it did before the military said military personnel that was going to. I knew it was coming. I was just surprised it took that long. Government agencies are starting to do that. Right, wrong, good, bad.
Not all of them, though.
I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I work for the VA. No. VA does it. The DOD is doing it. Not like you said. Not all of them.
Have to.
And on the civilian side, we don't know what that's going to look like. But we know as all of us that wore that uniform, it's going to be a requirement for them. It won't be an option.
So
all other civilians and stuff, those conversations will be optional based on individuals.
As I said, Gerald, I've said in prior episodes, as a veteran myself, when I signed up, I knew I was going into a fucking line and I was going to get shot the fuck up with a bunch of shots. Right. Did I know what half of them were? Fuck no, I didn't know what they were. But I knew I'm serving my country, and that was part of fucking doing it.
Right.
And the shot I regret is the one that I got in the ass that fucking hurt so goddamn bad.
Wasn't that the GG? Oh, the peanut butter? You had to stand in line and warm it up?
Oh, my God. They made us roll around on our ass for like an hour. It's fucking...
Hey, Joe.
Uh-huh.
Hey, one last question as we go away from Kanan's ass. Hey, with your experience and knowledge, your personal opinion, do you recommend people getting the shot? Wow.
And the reason I'm pausing, Mike, it's hard for me to answer because I'm not one of those ones that's pumping my chest, telling people to go get the vaccination. Because as what I've heard today, and I think Tim or whomever said, it's a personal decision for them to make, and it's not for Gerald even as a healthcare professional to say go get. Now, if I conversate every day with the veterans at the VA, I let them say what they want to do. So it's hard. So it's not for me, Mike. It's not a yes or no for me.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Do I think people should be vaccinated? Yes, because you stand a better chance being vaccinated at this point than the unvaccinated. And it goes back to what I talked about earlier in terms of what we're seeing that's coming into the ERs, coming into the hospital. Those that's having COVID, it's the non-vaccinated. So I mean, so that in itself speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? So but those the ones that don't, that's their choice, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, Jim, let's go to the next one.
Okay, let's lighten it up a little bit.
Oh God, let's go back to COVID.
No, please.
45.7% of kids aged 5 to 11 are now obese, compared to 36.2% before the pandemic.
Dang.
That's that shutdown. Nobody going outside.
Yep.
And they just, not walking it off and stuff like that. Yeah.
This is just another COVID bullshit related question. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Mike, hey, Cannon, when you say what's obvious, what do you mean?
Oh, when you fucking lock a country down and all you can do is sit around, play video games, and eat, what the fuck is going to happen? You're going to get fat.
Yeah, because back then, people were afraid to go to the parks and all of that stuff. Nobody would leave. So, yeah, it's kind of not surprising for me.
No,
what do you think, Tim?
Dumb question.
It links in with headlines from a few months ago, right? We had headlines talking about how gaming stocks like Microsoft and a lot of them, they own Xbox. All those have been going through the roof. They're minting money. They're making more money than they've ever made. And then recently, within about the last 2 weeks, China all of a sudden started cracking down on their people playing video games. They've put restrictions, and they're going to monitor it too, because a lot of their stuff is online and they can actually see who's coming on. They're going to penalize anyone trying to fake accounts, trying to fake like someone else is playing.
Wow.
I think it's become almost as much an issue for them as us. They see all their little kids getting all fat, and they're like, "Oh no!" And they're just like authoritarian over there, so they're shutting it down.
Yeah.
They're actually putting laws in place, and I mean, we'll see how far that gets them, whether people get around it or not.
Right.
But
holy
no,
shit!
it's definitely part of the lockdown. People started staying at home. They started playing video games, and I would say even after the lockdown, who the hell wants to go someplace and wear a mask? Now in Texas, we're totally ignoring it, but this is Texas. We don't wear masks anymore. I don't see I see older people wearing masks, but I never wear a mask. But who the hell wants to go places and wear a mask all the time? And I know in some of the blue states especially, they're very strict on that stuff. You got to wear a mask everywhere you go. So people would just rather stay at home, not wear a mask, and play video games, and it's probably causing some obesity.
What part of Texas are you in?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Corpus Christi.
Oh, you way down there.
Down south.
And also, if you look at it, if you look at like my degree field is in addictions, and if you look at that aspect, once you've been locked down for a year or two, and you get kids hooked on video games, what the fuck are they going to do? They're going to continue playing video games because they're fucking addicted to it.
But Canner, I was going to chime with that. Those statistics with obese during COVID, but let's go even beyond that. Obesity amongst younger kids has been an issue for a long time.
Absolutely.
We're kind of, some of us kind of the same age. We grew up outdoors. We did things.
Right.
This generation is obese by nature anyway. You know what I'm saying? So you can just throw COVID in as a caveat, but they were obese before COVID. So those statistics are just, you know what I'm saying? So
So those statistics probably it would have been 36% or something.
Yeah, before the pandemic.
So it was.
I guarantee it was higher than that.
Yeah. So 15. So us 90s kids and 80s kids, we didn't have video games, so we didn't have the obesity. Period.
Yeah.
But once you got video games into all this realm of fucking funness.
Yeah. Internet, computers, all of that.
Well, can we be fair for a second here?
I'm not.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I was going to say obesity doesn't just come from sitting stagnant playing video games. There's another portion of that, and that's consumption. So there has to be some level of like who's feeding these kids or letting them eat all day while they're playing video games. So it's not just the kids, it's some of us parents.
Well, that would just be you enabling them. You're not fucking feeding it to them.
Well, I think there is other factors, though. No, there's other factors.
Of course there is. Of course.
All right, for one thing, for older people, you got to be thinking they have so much anxiety and depression right now. You've pretty much alienated them from everyone during those lockdowns. So there's that. And, when you're anxious and depressed, sometimes some people respond by not eating, but there's a lot of people to eat more. But then another big thing I think is what's going on is we're starting to see some pretty bad inflation, especially with food inflation. And it tends to be the healthier food, the meats and stuff. I think that stuff is going to get expensive much faster. You can already see it with the meats.
It is already.
People are going to revert, just like in Venezuela. They eventually had to start eating cactuses and stuff. And it just kind of gradually lowered and lowered their quality of food to what they could afford with really bad inflation, to the point where they would have their mango harvest and the trees would already be picked clean. They didn't even get to ripen. People just got them out of there, threw rocks at them, whatever, knocked them out of the trees and just ate them all. So I think that's we're at the early stages of that, where people are starting to eat the refined garbage food out of the packages because it's cheaper. We're starting to eat a lot more of the starches because it's cheaper. They can't afford the meat because it's become too expensive. And that is also playing a part. Video games are a part, but as far as specifically, the question was about kids. But I do think the quality of food is going down, is going to get worse because the high quality food is just going to get more and more expensive if they can't figure out this inflation thing. Maybe if we have a big crash, that'll help. But Otherwise, if it keeps the way it's going, we're gonna all be eating a lot more packaged garbage.
Right, Tim. But what I was saying, this is to the group, is COVID didn't keep us from going outside, walking, exercising, and doing all those things. We could still do that. No one said lock your doors and put shackles and chains. You could still go outside. It's just the mass didn't do that, and they didn't with kids, adults, and they didn't. They decided to stay at home, no school, stay at home, but they still had the same opportunities to go on a track, go running, So when all I'm saying is there's a cause and effect, and let's not make an excuse and give them a pass because of the lockdown. Yes, is that part of the obesity, that the overweight, the weight gain for the kids and adults? Absolutely. But they still had the same opportunities to go outside and run in your neighborhoods on whatever. That's all I'm saying.
COVID enabled us to stay home, though.
Yes.
And not go out and do shit. And then with the gyms being closed.
But Kana, why? But why?
What do you mean why?
When you say it enabled us to stay at home and do nothing, but why? If
you had a free pass to stay home and not go out and do nothing versus go out and do something, aren't you going to take that free pass and just stay home?
But don't you have more time to exercise and stuff? And I'm just playing devil's advocate now.
But the old cliche, it's a lot. It's so hard to work out at home and just do shit at home versus going to the gym. And
that's fair.
I went to the gym last year. I went to the gym, and they were making me put on my mask, take my mask off, put on my mask every time I try to go to another machine. Fuck that shit. I just canceled the membership. I didn't feel like dealing with the Nazis.
So
all the little Nazis out there, pointing their fingers at me. He didn't put his mask on when he switched from the bench press to the leg press. I haven't been to the gym since then. It's just not even worth the hassle to deal with all the little mask Nazis.
Well, I was going to say, to Gerald's point, gym equipment did go off the shelves fast. The prices increased. Yeah. So people were working out at home because they chose to.
Right. But how many people work out at home? You get a plan. You fucking say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Fuck yeah. You go fucking buy yogurt and fruit and vegetables. It all rots. It all goes to fucking hell. And you work out for 3 days, and then you're fucking done, and you're eating your bonbons and fucking playing Call of Duty again.
I don't know how we can get those statistics, but this is getting, what did you call it, lucid?
Flaccid, I said.
Oh, flaccid. Oh, sorry, wrong word.
I said I'm getting flaccid.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it was. My bad.
You think we got time for one more, Jim?
One more.
Yeah, we got to have one more.
Okay.
One National Enquirer.
What?
No, it's not from the National Enquirer. Never.
Yeah, bullshit.
No, this one's not bad. It actually fits in, too.
Oh, God.
It fits in. Apple denies Fortnite a return to the App Store.
What the fuck?
You don't know anything about that?
What's Fortnite? I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so the last one we're going to cover then is... This you'll know about. A Baltimore student with a .13 GPA graduated near the top of his class.
Get the hell out of here. Get out of here.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, that can happen. He was homeschooled.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he was the only one in his class,
out his little brother.
Yeah.
There was two.
How many people were in it? What the fuck, dude?
Am I looking at a correct number?
You are. Yep.
How?
What I remembered was that they were dropping the standard scores to get people to pass or something. I remember something about that. I don't know if it was in Baltimore. I don't know where it was, but I think has something to do with that.
Yeah, a lot of districts were thinking about doing things like that because, that online with classes online for the schools, it just wasn't working out.
But is that even a passing? Can you even pass with that Right. I didn't think so. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
But you can be top of your class.
you won't be at the top, but you be near the top.
That's
Some schools, right?
Everyone else is really, really dumb.
Or they just don't show up because they're home playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible.
That's what
Well,
we're
it's
going
not-
to, guys. That's what we're going to.
Let's see.
Better fucking question than that, because that is fucking stupid.
Well, let me just say one thing though, because this stuff's actually been going on longer than you'd think. Because I was in New Jersey when they went to that whole no kid left behind stuff.
Yeah.
They were fixing the numbers to make sure everybody passed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they were like, oh, we're tops in this grade, we're tops in that. They were fixing that crap.
Yeah, but they that they didn't. They might fix a grade or something like that, Jim. But no one's gonna graduate with a point.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
It's like fucking 5 or something.
Yeah.
Well, clearly they didn't fix anything there, Mike. They just said,
Well,
oh,
they
well.
might have. Maybe it was an F and they took him to a D.
Yeah.
Shit, Tim, that's still not passing.
I'm just saying they fixed it.
Oh, right.
Kaner, I'll give you one more because that one wasn't.
Thank you, because it's
All right.
fucking dumb.
All right, one more. GOP reps introduced articles of impeachment against Biden.
You didn't want to leave with the last one, huh, Kane?
No.
That's
I wanted to make Kaner happy.
Well,
He's the only one who comments on our show, so if he gives us a thumbs down, our ratio tanks.
I didn't hear about that, but I did see that they like changed some of the fucking rules for the GOP, their powers and stuff, so they can't like do some investigating on Biden. I did see something about that, but I don't know about what the fuck that bullshit is, but
Impeach Biden? Mike, you're on mute, so I don't know if you're talking to us or yourself.
That was just
impeach Biden for what?
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, Kane. What is it this time? You know, it doesn't have that flair anymore when you use that word impeachment. It's like I guess like one of the old episodes. We're dumbed down. You know what I mean? It's like you say impeachment, and people are like, "Oh, they're going after him again." Same thing as his predecessor. You know what I mean?
And this is what I would say, Jim. Like I said, I'm not a Republican or Democrat, but we are so polarized as a nation now. It's now the go-to now is to impeach. Are we going to impeach every city president now because we disagree with their policies or if they're doing right or wrong? We're just setting a bad precedent. You know, now if you do a crime, then yes. Like the New York governor Cuomo, he should have been impeached because he did crimes. But we just need, I don't care who's sitting in that office. Impeachment should be what? Who was the last person? I know Trump got impeached twice. Who did
Clinton?
did they impeach Clinton?
Yeah, Clinton got impeached once also.
Okay, so how many presidents and I'm not a history major. How many presidents have gotten impeached? Do you know, Kaner? I don't know.
I do not know, sir, but it's almost like a standing fucking joke.
Let me
now.
think.
Yeah, exactly.
Johnson
Yeah.
got impeached.
Clinton?
Who did?
Clinton got impeached.
Nixon,
And
maybe?
Trump got impeached.
Nixon didn't.
So
I don't.
there's three.
Nixon didn't.
None
He
of them,
resigned.
none of them got
Remember?
convicted, though.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew Johnson, listen. Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump, the only presidents have been impeached. Two others came close to being charged with crimes. One of them, Nixon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and none of them. The Senate didn't move on any of them. So, okay, yeah. So.
It's a fucking joke. Impeachment to me is just like a fucking joke.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
He's
is, he bungled the withdrawal from Afghanistan, but that isn't impeachable. He hasn't done anything that's impeachable yet.
You're right.
No, they can sooner invoke that whatever that amendment is that he's incompetent. But the impeachment stuff, yes, has been a game. But my question is at what point, like, do you? We clearly saw the standard of impeachment for like Donald Trump. So is the standard changed, or is just one team going to play by the rules, one not? Like,
obviously.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, they shouldn't have impeached Donald Trump either.
So that's what I'm saying. Like Mike, and you say like it's dumb, it's useless. They do it all the time. But at what point do we say, all right, no more, or we might as well just do it because that's the norm now?
No, I really believe it's the norm. They just come up with these. It's just like Tim said. He hasn't done anything that's impeachable, to use that word. So, but it's like no matter what he does, he being any sitting president
or she,
the other side, not yet, but the other side is they just looking for something so they can be able to stick that word onto some legacy of an opposing party's president or something like that, man. That's the way I see it. It's like, oh, we're going to impeach him. Okay.
Acting stupid and being like having dementia is not an impeachment. That's not an impeachable offense. I mean,
in fact,
really, you wouldn't want to. I mean, really, best to just let him keep going.
Right. I find him amusing.
Yeah, you're right about that, Tim. Let him go.
I want to buy one of Hunter's finger paintings.
Yeah.
I want to keep going, man. Okay. I want to keep going. I want one of fucking Hunter Biden's finger paintings in my fucking living room, man.
You get a hold of that laptop, you might even find an impeachable offense in there somewhere.
I can't believe you didn't bring that up because
unfortunately it's the sun.
It's not in the headline, dude. I don't bring anything up.
So what I'm hearing is we kind of all agree that impeachment, the articles or impeachment has lost its true meaning.
It's a fucking joke now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I want a Hunter Biden finger painting. I don't want to pay $100,000 for it, but I want one.
So we don't need an ending one because that is a good ending one. So why don't we go ahead and wrap this up because we are hitting that point. Want to thank all you guys for joining us for the awesome conversation. We want to thank everybody out there for watching. If you're a veteran out there, come join us, get involved, let your voice be heard. And until then, Godspeed.
Hey, and pull the pin.
Thanks for joining us here at Pull the Pin Already. We hope you had as much fun as we did. If you like what we do, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. But most importantly, leave a comment below. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our opinions. Hope to see you here next time on Pull the Pin Already.